Okay, you guys, let's do this. It's going to be so professional.
Okay.
Like, so professional. Here we go. Welcome to the Live Support Podcast with your hosts, Michele and June and June Colson, a couple of clean comedians who support each other and others through comedy's wacky and winding roads. I hope you're ready. Get set. Let's go. Since podcasts have a catchy tune, we wrote this song for Michele and June. Clean comedians are best friends too. Oh, it's so good. And you never know what they'll say or do. Here we go, sing with me on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. We'll have a ball, with June, who's really tall. They have fun, interviewing comedians on Live Support, with Michele, who's really short. Now it's time to start Live Support.
The Live Support Podcast is brought to you by the Hot Breath Comedy Network.
Wow, give yourself a round of applause.
Welcome to the award-winning Laugh Support Podcast. I'm your host, June Colson, here with Michele with one L, Rhonda Colson, Corey's friend, Trisha's sister. Don't call me Shelly, wearing a weird kitty cat mitten that her best friend sent her, Michele VanDusen. What has inspired the cat mitten to come back out again?
Because this is like, see you later, because that cat is gone. And I thought it was forever, but it's not. He's coming back for Thanksgiving and Christmas. We're not eating him. He gets to visit. So whatever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because let's just talk about the cat for the 14th millionth time. It's Mr. Fox that Michele has lied, big fat liar, her pants are on fire, pretending like she doesn't love this cat. You had it in a Halloween t-shirt. You bought it a harness. You have played soccer with this cat. You have loved this cat. You've made videos with this cat, all the while lying about your love for this cat. I don't know why. It's okay to love your cat, Michele. It's okay to love your cat.
I don't love the cat. I have to say, the Halloween sweater, and it's a pumpkin. It was Mommy's little pumpkin, because they don't make Daddy's little pumpkin, which is kind of disappointing because,
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I'm going to guess if I Google right now, I can find a Daddy's Little Pumpkin. But Michele, they were out of Daddy's Little Pumpkin. Mommy's Little Pumpkin you are not pleading your case at all.
It was great. It was great because when you put that on him, it calms him down. So he knows when the sweater's on, it's time for him to chill out. So that was the best. That was the best thing. You can't play soccer when he's wearing the sweater because he's like, I'm not moving. And he'll just watch you kick the ball in front of him. So anyway, he's out. But you know what's in? Christmas tree. What? Because it's time for the holidays.
Oh my goodness. You're the type that the day after Halloween, you put up the Christmas tree, didn't you?
Absolutely. I did. I put it
Or you put together the Christmas tree. I mean, it's Legos. So there's that.
Yeah. I
but is your real tree up?
Yeah, it's up all year. It's in the attic. It's up in the attic. It's up all year long.
Yeah. In the attic. Hey, I bought a Christmas tree for my neighbor because I am that girl who watches every time somebody puts in the HOA page that they're giving something away for free. And I'm like, I'll come get it. And so they were giving, one of the neighbors was giving away a tall, skinny Christmas tree that they were moving out. And so I went and got it. But there was a whole incident. I would love to see the Ring doorbell camera because first of all, I full on tripped, face planted in their driveway. And then I got the Christmas tree, but I couldn't fit it in my car. So I'm trying to shove it into my car and then I take off. And now I've almost backed into their yard because all the lights were off outside. And then I get all the way back to my house and realize that I left the tree stand. And so then I had to turn around and drive all the way back. And, but it was all for the love of my son and his girlfriend. And so, they're already asking the day after Halloween, they were already asking if I could bring it to Nashville so that they could put it up in their apartment. So they're super excited about Christmas too.
Yeah, and I do have a Christmas tree on my front porch. It's been there all year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hadn't it never came down, did it?
It never came down,
Yeah.
never came down. But I thought for one split second you're gonna say, and then I realized I was at the wrong neighbors. Like that's what I thought
Oh,
you
yeah.
were gonna say. Like
I was like the
wrong-
Grinch. I just came on in, I took someone's
Just took
tree,
it all. Just took it all.
and
Just
then
took
I'm
it
like,
all.
oh wait, who was that woman and why did she steal our tree? Like, I don't know. She's
Right.
stuck in the front yard right now in her Toyota Camry. She can't get out. Again, this is reason
Yeah.
495,000 that I have the most contact cards from my local HOA. So that, and because I do videos in my bathrobe, dancing around in leaves in my backyard. And today I was on my front porch in pajamas eating Oreo cookies for a video. So
I love it. I love it.
there's that. There's that. But Michelle,
Yes.
speaking of cats, we got one cool cat on the show
Ooh,
today.
nice-
Did you see
nice
that transition I did there?
That was
Yeah.
good. Oh, that was
Thanks so
smooth.
much.
That was
Do I get a
smooth.
10? Because I stuck the landing.
You were good until you did that. So
Fine,
you were
Michelle.
you were right there, and then you fell off the mat.
You-
Your legs gave.
You just can't give it to me. You just can't give it to me. But listen, speaking of sticking the landing, award winning, taking home the trophy, tell us about our guest today, because I just recently saw him receive a trophy for being pretty stinking awesome. All right, who's on the show?
Ooh.
Tell us.
I'm so glad you finished this statement. Pretty stinking awesome. I'm so glad you mentioned
Awesome. Sorry for the
Okay,
delay.
So our guest today is a man of many talents. This international comedian has opened up for like Chris Tucker, the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. He's performed with Sherry Shepherd. He's done comedy tours overseas. He's entertained our U.S. troops. He is currently the host and the co-executive producer of an online game show for comedians called Comic Genius, right? The Comic Genius Show, which is so cool. And
Yes.
he also is working on the Breakfast Mojo, which is like a delicious food review show. I want to be on that one. Okay, so let's welcome the 2022 LOL GCA Pioneer Award winner, comedian Coy. LaSone? No, I said it wrong.
Did you say soy, like soy sauce?
No,
You did so good for so many episodes.
Oh no, I said it wrong. Oh no. Say your name, please. Oh man. I'm not gonna
It's
live
Coy
this down.
LaSone, but you could say it's Coy LaSone, but Comedian Coy is fine.
See.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Comedian Coy is fine.
Coy, she has done so good for so many episodes, but our entire
You wanna-
first season, literally, if your last name was Jones, she would be like, Jones?
Johns?
Bob Jones, welcome to the show. And I'm like, it's Jones, Michelle, it's Jones. Like St. Nicholas. We had a Nicholas. It was Nichols.
Nichols. Nichols, and then Riviera. It's Rivera. You know, Steve
Rivera.
Rivera. I
Yep.
messed up his, and he's been my friend forever. And like, boom.
Yeah. So all I'm saying is that is like
You're
a
now my
sprinkle.
friend.
That's just like a magical sprinkle when she messes up your name. That means
Okay.
that your next 4 months are going to be booked solid. If Michelle VanDusen,
You're
Van
welcome.
Dawson, what is it? VanDusen?
Hey.
Dusen? What is it? If
Listen,
Michelle messes
Right.
listen, Pickles.
Right.
Well, we are so happy that you are with us today, Coy. Thank you for agreeing to come and hang out on the Laugh Support podcast.
And have your name butchered. I'm sorry.
Well, you got the first name right. You got this. You got that name right there.
Yeah,
COY
Comedian Coy.
Coy.
Comedian
COY.
Coy.
You got that
yes.
right.
Yeah. All
You
right.
got that right.
So let's talk really quick about the LOL GCA and the Pioneer Award. I just recently got to hang out with Coy for the second year in a row at the LOL GCA, and you received an award, and also you were one of the speakers at the event. And by the way, fantastic, absolutely fantastic speaker. I got to leave the event with so many just notes and just golden nuggets of information. So tell us about the Pioneer Award and what that was like to have your peers recognize you at an event like that.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, June. Thank you, Michele VanDusen, for being part of your podcast here. I think it's a great concept. I'm very appreciative to be here. Yeah, this was I give I can't take too much credit because a lot of people didn't know the backstory of this whole scenario. You know what I'm saying? What it was like, it was a moment that that was unexpected. You know what I mean? When you've been in the industry as long as I have, as far as comedy industry, and you know, you're not thinking about being appreciated for something that you do, as far as helping other people and
Yes.
trying to get other people on board. So I was so far not even thinking about it. So when I did receive it, it was quite an honor, and I'm glad that I received it at that time, because if I would have received it last year, then it probably wouldn't have been the same, because I was expecting, you know, like you just want to be the next person to get something.
Yeah.
But this was totally unexpected. I didn't even think about it. So when it happened and they said my name, it was a shock. It was a surprise. So it was a great honor, and I was very appreciative. And a big shout out to everyone there that's part of the I would say the cast, but that's part of behind the scenes of LOL GCA.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, that was super cool to see. And that is something, well, Michele, you just met Coy before we even came on. And literally, like, this is the creative mind that he is. He looked at the logo, he talked about us, and then what was he trying to do? Was he trying to do something for himself, or was he already suggesting helping us with something?
Oh, he was already like, okay, we got to get a tour. We got to get all your guests that you've been on. Let's do this. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So watch coming in 2023, there'll be a Laugh Support comedy tour. So watch for us.
Yeah. He puts that sprinkles that little seed and gets excited. I think that's one of the things I notice about you, Coy, is that you're excited about what you do, but you also, your wheels are turning for other people too. And that's really what this podcast is about, the Laugh Support podcast. As I told you, Michele was one of the first comedians who stepped into my life and was like, hey, let me help you out and help me edit, help me get the confidence to get on stage for the first time. And what an amazing, it was tough. Yeah, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. Yeah, I owe her a lot. But that's what we wanted to do, is bring comics on and say, hey, you know, what's the journey been like for you? So when you think back, Coy, to when you first started doing comedy, and of course, this isn't like, you know, the Oscars where you're like, oh no, I forgot to thank my agent, my this and that. Really, it's just about some people who come to the top of the mind. So we start back at the beginning. Is there anybody who comes to mind to you that was really laugh support for you as you started your journey into comedy?
Absolutely. You know, I would have to say, you know, my grandmother, first and foremost, you know, she was very supportive in a lot, in everything that I was doing. I had to, because the questions were pretty good that you guys had me try to think about. And I remember when I did my first college gig in South Carolina at Claflin College. And, you know, she lived in South Carolina. So of course she was going to be there. And she was just, and it was a situation, and you guys know this, comedians know this. It's not the best place to do comedy, in a gymnasium with all the people. You know what I mean? It's just the acoustics is horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what a venture to actually do your first college gig, and you're actually in an auditorium, not an auditorium, but a gymnasium, a huge college gymnasium, where there's just so much reverb, and it wasn't the best first gig. But guess who was there? My grandmother was there and said how well I did, and so that was all that mattered at the time. You know, there's nothing like a grandmother's hug. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and people enjoyed it with whatever they could hear, you know, whatever feedback. But yeah, I mean, people like my grandmother, my buddy that I worked at Hardee's. I worked at a fast food joint, and he was there. You know what I mean? We was in school, high school, and I told him what I wanted to do, because I had thought about it when I was in my senior year in high school. I was like, man, I want to do this. And he was all in support of it. He was all in it. And back then he would be hanging with Pharrell, before Pharrell became big, the big kahuna he is today.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was just, and at the time we had cassette tapes. I'm telling my age. And I would record myself as Arsenio Hall on these cassette tapes. You know what I'm saying? And we would just it was just fun stuff that we would do. And I would have the music, and it would just be all of these, just pretend, just to kind of pretend. And he was all cool with it. Willie D, also known as a Soul Wolverine, at the time. So that was great. And then, of course, I got to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Andrea. She was a singer, and we've done talent shows together. I would come in first, she would come in second. You know what I mean? It was like hand in hand, and just so supportive. You know what I mean? Her family, very supportive. Just first coming out the gate, folks, out the gate. These people were there, and big shout out to my mother. My comedy had to grow on her, but yeah, it's like you have to show the evidence. If you're gonna do something and you say you're gonna do it, and then you do it, and then you start to see some success. They start to see some success, like, oh my gosh, you're funny. Then you know what I mean. Then they'll kind of get on your bandwagon, and they kind of start to get on that support team. So big shout out to my mother and all of those folks and my family who saw that.
Listen, you mentioned Hardee's and your mom. My mom and my sister both worked at Hardee's together. My mama made the biscuits. My mama made the made from scratch biscuits at Hardee's.
Oh, yes. Wow.
On the 31W bypass in Bowling Green, Kentucky. She would get up early and she'd go make the biscuits. That's what my mama did.
Well, there's your sponsor right there. You got to call me. Shout out. There's your sponsor for your next tour. Yeah, one thing I'll never forget, and I know the question, there's like, what advice would someone give you? You know what was interesting is there was advice that I got at Hardee's from a coworker who was much older. She was she was like a grandmother, and I'll never forget what her advice is till this day. She said, if you have time to gripe, you have time to wipe.
Ooh,
if you have time to lean, you have time to clean.
It rhymes. It's got to be true.
That was so fun stuff. I'll never forget that.
Got time to clean. I like that. That's so good. Man, I wish I would have heard that when my kids were teens. Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
No kidding. Well, look, it doesn't hurt to have somebody in your corner when you start out of the gate named Wolverine, right? You got a Wolverine backing you up. That's pretty.
Soul Wolverine.
Yes, the Soul Wolverine.
The Soul Wolverine. Yeah. That was his rap name. I
love that you said that you got to show the evidence to some people, because you do. That's a reality in comedy, and that's stuff that I definitely didn't expect, or kind of thought, oh, well, the people who love me, like my mom and my kids and my dad and my sister and my brother, they'll all be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, go for it, And man, like my inner circle was the one that was the most difficult to convince about what I was doing versus the outer circle of people. People on the outside were just like, oh, cool, go for it. Where are you going to be? Let me come see you. And like my own family be sitting in the audience, like, make me laugh, clown. I'm like, wait, what? Like, I did not expect that.
See, my mom. Oh, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, my mom would be like, you should do it this way, and then she proceeds to tell me how she thinks I should do the joke. And then one time she's like, oh, my favorite bit of yours, and then she goes and tells me a Kathleen Madigan joke. I'm like, that's not my joke, Mom. Thanks.
Her favorite of your material wasn't even your material. So,
wasn't even mine.
That's awesome. So it sounds like, right out of the gate, you had friends, you had somebody to do the talent shows with, which is really cool to have somebody. And you weren't necessarily, you were in competition at these talent shows because you guys were both going for first prize, but it's also such a different genre to have somebody. Yeah. Have you noticed how much, because that's another thing I've observed, how parallel the universe is between musicians and comedians. they're so similar of things that we're doing, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a respectful arena for both. You know what I mean? I wish I could. I mean, I could sing a little bit, but you know what I mean? It's a respectful genre when it comes to that genre of music and having that ability and that talent. It does kind of go hand in hand, because if you think about it, you know, if you're doing a show, it's great to have a singer open up. Why not? You know what I mean? Or have music. There's always music involved most of the time with comedy. It helps. And then when it comes to music, guess what? They need somebody to open up for their tour. They're gonna call a comedian. Why not? You know what I'm saying? You know, I had an opportunity to go on tour. Speaking of Tennessee, I had a really great experience with Grits, Grammatical Revolution in the Spirit. They were part of the CCM rap group back in the day with Toby Mac and them. And to go on tour with those guys, I was their opening act. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So how cool was that? And you know, those guys would sell out every arena, every college or whatever. They had a huge mega fan base. You know what I'm saying? We had a tour bus and everything. You know, that's how the CCM folks roll back then, Goatee Records. Yeah, I tell you, we go hand in hand. It's, you know, we support each other, definitely.
That's really cool. Michele, I could so see you touring with a rap group. You know, we've mentioned Michele has rapped before. Coy will send it to you. Michele is, she's on video rapping. What was the name of your character, Michele?
I was the rapping barista.
Mm-hmm. And give us one line.
I'm the queen of the beans doing things. Anyway, it's good.
Hey.
She's the queen of the beans doing things you've never seen is what.
Yeah.
She was really good. We'll have to send that to you.
I heard a little bit of the flow there. That's pretty good.
I embarrassed her.
I didn't write it. Okay. So, and I had to learn it. It was a very difficult thing to learn that rap. And it was a guy was singing. I'm like, I need your voice. And that's how I learned it. And then when you had to go lay down the track, I was like, wait, no, you just started the music. I need your voice in my ear. So I know when to start.
Where'd that guy go?
Yeah. And then apparently to make the video, you have to lip sync to your own voice, which was like, wait, what? Okay, I have to hear me now. And so it was just a weird and very stretching opportunity. Like I've never been stretched like that before in a creative way. And it was really cool to do. And then to see the end result, like it's really good.
It is really good.
Yeah, I'm really glad I went through the process, but talk about scared and not knowing what I was doing. It was really good to see the end result.
So this tour that you did with Toby Mac and that whole group, was that the first time that you had been on tour with musicians before? And is that the first time you were on a tour bus?
It was. I was with I was on the tour with Grits, and there would be certain stops that he would make. So when he would get back to Tennessee, then it would be parties that we would go to, or concert parties that we would go to. And yeah, Toby Mac was there as well as Out of Eden. I know I'm going back in the day, but it was that whole CCM, you know, Goatee Records type of crew that would hang out with each other and support each other. So it was my first time. It was my first time on a tour, and this was my first time in the Midwest. So I got to hit Texas and all these places that I would have probably never even thought about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tennessee, y'all are just you're wonderful people. The Tennessee is really cool folks. But yeah, that was my first tour bus. I mean, it was just a really cool experience to go from city to city and just show up and just perform. And then the guys would come on and they would do their songs, and the crowd would be hyped, and the people, you know, the teens and the kids, they would be so hyped. it was cool. And then you got to visit a lot of the youth groups, and you got to see kind of what type of youth groups, and you know, this is where I met I can't think of his name right now, it'll come back to me, but just different places all over the city. Great time.
That's awesome. Well, we know that, you know, musicians, they travel with a band and all of that stuff, but comedy can be a really solo kind of gig. It can be a lonely road. And so, you know, one of the questions we asked our guests is there ever a time that you've been doing comedy that you felt no laugh support? You've kind of felt not necessarily lonely, but maybe alone in the venture.
Yeah, because, you know, when you're starting out, and mind you, you know, you have your family, but they don't know the art.
Right.
They don't know how to help create your material. They don't know anything about where you go to find gigs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're asking where, you know, so where you performing next? And you don't have no idea, because no one has really held your hand to say how to go about doing that. When I moved back to New York City, I'm originally from Brooklyn, but I had moved out because I was, you know, a military brat. We moved around, but eventually we came back to the city of New York, and no one knows where to go in New York as far as comedy. So you kind of had to find your own way. And yeah, the only thing that helped is once you got in and you did your material and you was a little bit respected, the comedians that were still starting out with you, they might know other places to go. And then that became your group. That became your network. That became your support group in a sense.
Yeah.
Because now you have someone that's starting out just like you. And now, you know, you're kind of putting your minds together like, okay, where can we go next? Oh, I heard about this place over here. I heard about, you know, that place over there. And then you're like, oh, okay, let's do that. Let's go. You know what I mean? So that's when it became a little bit of a group effort. And that's where that support came in at. But after that, it's like, nah, nobody, if you just were kind of on your own, fending for yourself. And back then there was no internet like that. So how are you going to find, you can't just type on a computer, open mic, and see what pops up in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Or what pops up in Manhattan. I mean, you knew of places like Caroline's, you knew of places like the Comedy Factory and all those different places, but those were like seasoned comics. You know what I mean? Like you had to know somebody to get in there. You know what I mean? Because usually the big people will come through there. But if you didn't know anybody, what were you going to do? And even the people that were doing the comedy on that level that you might have ran into, I mean, what are you going to say to them? So part of you had to kind of swallow your pride, and other times they just wasn't really flowing with you like that because they don't really know you. So, I mean, what can you do? You know what I mean? And even if you get on stage, they might just say, keep doing what you're doing. You know, that's what Tracy Morgan said to me. Tracy Morgan was like, just keep doing what you're doing. And I was like, okay, you know, but we kind of wanted to help, like a step in, like, okay, can you tell me what I am doing?
Right.
Tell me what I'm not doing right. You know what I mean? What I need to do. So sometimes you didn't get that feedback from the other comics that might have been a little bit more seasoned than you are. Because then at the end of the day too, it can be competition, unfortunately. It can be a little competitive in the secular realm. And even sometimes in the church realm too, you know, but but not a lot in the church, not a lot. But you just gotta ask questions, and if someone rejects you, it's like, man, I if they do that, then just find someone else, or just talk to someone who's willing to talk to you or give you that support.
Well, that's good. Like
Michele,
that's great. Yeah.
Michele, you've been around the like Christian comedy. Does a lot of what Coy just said kind of ring true, that you do have some that are going to give that advice, and then others it is that scarcity mentality of like, I don't want her to do too good.
Oh yeah, yeah. You find that everywhere because we're
Yeah.
all human, and so you never know what people are dealing with daily. You know, if their pocket, if their money is getting hit because you just showed up, it's gonna cause a little riff. But yeah, but then at the same time, you turn around and the next person is right there supporting you, encouraging you, and
Mhm.
continue to move forward. So, and oh yeah, I'll pray for you.
Yeah,
Which is that a
keep
real
doing what you're
one
doing,
or
Michelle. I'm gonna pray for you. Keep doing what you're doing. That's
you do
right.
you, boo? Yeah.
Yes, Coy said. Well, hey, so with the Pioneer Award, we kind of know that you are somebody who is supportive of people. But when you think about that, have you had an opportunity to kind of help another comic learn or grow or even mentor something of that nature?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I just get into conversations with people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I get in conversations with comedians, and I just think like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I just think like that. Have you ever thought about adding this to this bit? And they don't always are people that I mentor because I understand how it is being on that other side, right?
Mhm.
And I just want to give a quick shout out. I wrote their names down. I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Jason Earls, Michael Jr., Comedian Bone, Tim Grable, and a lot of the comics from the CCA. You know, great people that were really in support of me and who were willing to hold my hand. And
Yeah.
sometimes you feel like you might not want anybody to hold your hand, or sometimes you feel like I don't need anybody to hold my hand, or maybe you're not ready. Sometimes it takes discipline
Mhm.
because somebody can tell you the information on what to do, but you still have to be disciplined to be able to put it out. I
Right.
mean, I can mentor these comics and I can tell them what they could do to enhance their joke. I can tell them what they can do to make it something to punch up their joke or to put a tag to it. You know what I mean? Or make it into a sketch or make
Yeah.
it into this, make it into that. At the end of the day, they still have to put forth that effort. They still have to
Mhm.
try it out in front of people. They still have to write it out. They still have to do whatever they got to do to make it fit in their comedy set. But I have no problems sharing with people what I think and what I believe should take place. And I do ask them, you know, do you mind? You know what I mean? Because I'm not
Yeah.
going to push myself on somebody who's not willing to receive.
Right.
I say, do you mind? I just noticed this. And what I try to do is, you know, when you're trying to mentor someone or when you're trying to give people advice, you don't want to dog them out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't
Right.
want to say, "Oh man, that you know what could have been funny though. You know what if you would have did this though." See
Mhm.
what I'm saying? You know, it's more like you want to first compliment, then you want to ask them if do you mind or would you mind if, and if they say sure, then I say, "Hey, I was thinking this.
Mhm.
If you did this, it could really help. If and always keep it on that positive, and then you can put in the negative afterwards and say because the reason why it didn't work is because of your timing or because of the way you delivered it if you didn't deliver it, and then after you say all that then you say however I enjoyed it, however it was funny. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So you kind of
Right.
want to close the sandwich it up where the top of the bread is giving positive feedback, in the middle where all the good stuff is you're giving, you know, the lettuce is your positive feedback, getting permission, and then the meat of it is what it really is about, which is also the negative. And then at the end of the bottom of the bun, you say, yeah, but you know, you keep doing the good work though. But you're getting there and you're doing a great job thus far. You want to do that when you're trying to mentor folk. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Well, Michelle, what did I okay, so Michelle, do I laugh at comics?
Not out loud very often.
And what did I tell you about Coy? He is one of the few people that what?
That you actually laughed out loud.
Yes.
So that
Yes.
right there, the boom, highest honor. You don't need any other awards but that one. You got the June Colson Laughter Award. Da da da.
There it is.
Yeah.
Because, well, really, we're watching other comics and it's the craft. You're watching the craft. You're watching how they do it. You're anticipating like whether it's almost like a little game in your brain that you're trying to anticipate, like what's he about to say, and those kind of things. And so I'm the type who's usually like, oh yeah, oh that was smart. That was smart, but I'm not laughing, which is what comics want. But I'm like, oh, that was really good. I am telling you, if Comedian Coy is willing to offer you some advice on your comic and how to punch things up, just shut up and listen, because it's one thing when you just really love a person. There's something about you, Coy, that is just very, it's very special. And it is that light in you that draws people to you. And then when I get to see more than just a clip of you on the internet and see you do a little something of what you do, and I want all my friends to be good. I want them to be good. You're great. It's so much that literally, Michelle, and I'm not going to give away a joke or anything, but with the flip of a stool, just the flip of a stool, he had me done. I was done. Your physical comedy, and we've had Christian McCartney on the show. Christian and I connected about a year ago, and young comic coming up. You guys go back and watch our episode with Christian McCartney. He is a physical comic. He is new. He is raw. He was wide open. And I was so thrilled that Christian got to watch you and how you harness all of that. And it's so polished and so good. I was laughing at what you're doing, and I was completely blessed on the other side, watching Christian, watching a veteran like you just do what you do. Absolutely fantastic. So I just have to tell you, like, and that's one of the things I told Michelle. I was like, we have to have Coy on and I said, Michelle, I literally laughed. Like a laugh came out of my mouth, not a head nod, not a respect. He had me dying. You're just so good. So good at what you do. So I wondered
Thank you so much.
if you shared a piece of advice with somebody, or if there's something that someone has given you a piece of advice that you lock that in and you use that still to this day, whether it was the lady at Hardee's or it's another comic. Is there something that yes, if you're leaning, you're cleaning.
Oh, if you got time to lean, you got to.
But yeah, is there something you can share with our listeners?
Yeah, you know what? I was thinking, I was like, man, because I saw that question. I was like, oh man, what is there anything? And I'm sure folks have shared and gave some solid advice to me. And maybe I was just went through one ear and out the other. I don't know. But I mean, I would say one advice that does stuck with me that was like revelation. It was like a revelation advice, like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. You hear this stuff. And I had an opportunity to interview Tommy Davidson. And Tommy Davidson, I noticed that he was doing a lot of tours. And this was like this was recent, so to speak, but it stuck with me and I'll never forget what he told me. I said to Tommy Davidson, I said, you're doing a lot of shows with other big name comedians. You know what I mean? How do you guys figure out who is the headliner, who is the feature, and who is the opener? Because you guys are doing it. How do you flip a coin or something? I mean, and you know what he told me? He said, all you need to worry about is your free throw shot. Now, he used the analogy as far as basketball. If your basketball is a team sport, but there's an opportunity when something the other team gives you a foul, you have to throw a free throw shot, and you have 2 chances to do it, and you can make the shot. But guess what? You're shooting it not for yourself, but you're shooting it for the entire team. So you're really a team when it comes to these comedians. When you're with comics on the same show, you're a team. You don't worry about if someone blew up the spot before you. don't worry about if someone didn't. Don't worry about if someone was extremely funnier than you, and you know that you don't have that type of capacity to measure. Don't measure yourself to anyone else. Just shoot your shot. Shoot your free throw shot, because we're all there to make other people laugh. That is the goal. The comedians are there to get people to come out of whatever hardships or whatever issues they have, or maybe they just want to laugh, period. That's your job. That's everyone else's job on the show. There's no competition. Just shoot your shot. Add what you do to the rest of the team that's doing comedy for the audience.
That's so awesome, Michelle.
So
Michelle,
So good.
do you recall me sharing that with you when I came back from the LOL GCA?
No,
You-
I've slept a few times since then, so I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
well,
but
it was
hearing
either- it was-
now a second time. I'm getting it. I'm getting it. I got it. Oh my gosh, that is so good. I get to wear a jersey. That's all I'm hearing.
Yes,
I get to wear the
yeah.
jersey. I don't have to sit on the bench. I get to play. I love
You
it.
get to play,
Yeah,
and you do your
I
play.
love
You do
it.
what you do.
it was
And
either it was either Michelle or another friend of mine that was getting ready to do a show, and they were like, "Well, it was you, Michelle, because you said I'm just hosting."
Oh,
And the way she
Oh.
phrased it was, "I'm just
Was.
hosting," and I go, "Let me tell you what I learned at the LOL," which was just
Okay.
a little nugget of what you just said. Yeah, Michelle,
Yeah.
she took a nap, so she forgets. But that
No,
truly stuck with me that you share that with us at the LOL, and I love that now it's on a recording, and we can go back and listen to that anytime, because that is such
so good.
such a great thing that you locked in to your brain, because it changes your perspective on where you are in the lineup, on what you're doing, whether someone's funny before you or whatever. Perspective is everything. And so thank you so much for sharing that
Yeah,
with
that
our
was like
listening audience.
That was a Hamilton moment.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna miss my shot. Gonna
Yes.
take my shot. Not gonna miss it.
That's Hamilton.
And you know what's interesting? Because I'm so much more of a boxing. I don't really watch basketball, believe it or not. But I'm a boxer. So even in the sport of boxing, you're still your own guy, but you have coaches to tell you how to do it, what to do. You need to throw that uppercut. When he does this, you need to do that. So there's always advice in every sport, but at the end of the day, we're all part of that same team. Whether you're solo or not, there is a coach. There's someone there that's going to high five you. Well, not if you're at Sesame Place, but anyway, there's going to be somebody. Anyway, I don't know where that came from. But there's gonna be folks that's gonna be there, whatever happens, because even if you miss a free throw, there's still gonna be somebody there to say, "Hey, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. It's all right. It's all right." It's a team effort, folks. Huh? Let me tell you something. Let me just say this real quick. When I did overseas, you guys talked about me going overseas for the troops. When I went overseas on a tour, we were all American comics, and we were all in support of each other. Point blank, all in support of each other. If there was somebody, and this was a secular thing, if there was somebody in the audience that wasn't acting right and they wanted to have a few choice words, that was the wrong time to do that, because guess what? Every comedian after me is going to talk about you. And that was the type of family setting that we had in the secular realm. Now, we don't really deal with that with the church market, but at the end of the day, we're there to do a job, and we're all on the same side.
Well, speaking of,
And if somebody,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we've done a lot of game analogies before we go. We want you to talk about your game and being supportive of other comics. So tell us about the game show that you have.
Wow. So this was a big song about supportive comics. Great transition. So there's this game show called the Comic Genius Show that me and a buddy of mine, big shout out to Dell, that we came up with. And it was for comedians who were starting out, and needed advice, but at the same time, it was a competition. So it's like, I would call it, if I was to pitch it, it would be Last Comic Standing meets Whose Line Is It Anyway meets Jeopardy.
Ooh.
So yes, and there's a game system, there's a game point system. So the comedian would do at least 3 minutes of comedy, stand up, and there would be certain people on the panelists who were seasoned comics or people who are comedian enthusiasts, who that's what they love. They love comedy, so they know what a joke is and everything. And then after that, they will get points from the panelists, and then we will move into the improv, where now they would have to do certain things that was around them that they would have to make funny. And we would give them like 1 minute to find something in their house because it was a virtual show. And then they would have to bring it and make it funny. And there was a point system with that as well. And then lastly, the trivia, and there was different games. There's different games, all types of different games. You spin the wheel, and then there's trivia, which basically is we're testing these amateur comics. Because here's the thing, folks. If you say you're a comedian and you're coming into this industry of comedy, why you need to know who started out before you. You need to know who set the stage. You know, it's just respectful. It's just respectful to do that and to know who those comedians are before you. So I would ask some questions and I would say, okay, name that comic. Ace Ventura in Living Color. Let me tell you something. And then the person.
Michelle's buzzing in. Michelle's buzzing in down there.
Who
is it, Michelle?
Jim Carrey.
All right. So the first person that would get the answer would get that point. So it's just not about doing stand-up, because we've had people who were really funny, but then when it came to that trivia, they just didn't know.
Yeah.
So we're trying to give a full perspective of comedians. It's a lot of fun. They win prizes. They win a belt. I should have brought the belt with me.
Yes.
But I know. But they win a belt, and they win some cash prize as well. So we try to look out for the comedians. So we're looking to take Comic Genius Show to the next level and really put it out there. So if you see these game shows on ABC, NBC, CBS, one day, I'm believing. I'm having faith. I'm having faith that one day you'll see the Comic Genius Show on there, because everyone loves it. Everyone thinks it's a great idea. It's a brilliant idea. I still think it's a brilliant idea. If you want to see the shows in season 1, we're still on season. Well, actually, we're done with season 2. We haven't released season 2 yet. But season 1, if you want to see how that flow is, go to Comic Genius Show on YouTube, and you can see the full show.
Yeah.
There.
That'll be awesome.
And June, we got to have you on.
Listen, Comic Genius and thinking, I'm the person who like has to have time to think about stuff. And improv, I have found I'm not good at it, because that is when I laugh. When I get the goofy thought in my head, I lose it. I just lose it. I'm already laughing at what I'm about to say, and then I'm done. I'm just done. I mean, I make other people laugh because I can't control myself in improv. And I feel like if you ever need a dunce corner, like, you know, like the cartoon with the little dunce hat and a girl in the corner because she's in trouble because she can't get it, that would be me. You could do it. You know, you talk about Arsenio Hall, the shout out to the dog pound. You could do shout out to the dunce corner, and I'd just be over there in my little hat.
It's called June's Corner. It's a whole new show now. June's Corner. That's it. It's a whole new
June's Corner. I love it.
There it is. But okay, so
before
we go though, because Coy does the whole like boxer announcer voice. So I need you, Coy, if you would be so kind, is to announce Michele VanDusen like she's coming to fight. She'll be in one corner. I'm going to be in the next corner. Would you do that for us?
Okay. Coming in the red corner, still undefeated by 20 KOs by way of knockouts. Let's hear it for Michele VanDusen. And coming all the way by Tennessee, she's here. 20-0 with 10 KOs by way of knockout. Let's hear it for June, the June Bug Colson.
Yeah, that's it right there. That's it right there. You're going down, VanDusen. You're going down.
I'm already short. I can't get any downer than I am.
Oh, that's true.
I'm going to take you out by your knees, girl. I'm going to take you out by your knees.
You will. I got to watch my knees when I'm with Michele. What do you think, Michele? Has this been the best interview ever?
Yes, it has. Yes, and there. I'm ready for improv now. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, Michele, we got to get you on it too.
Yeah,
good stuff.
Thank
Good
you
stuff.
so much. I mean, some of the wisdom that you just dropped was amazing, and the analogies and all of it, just so good. June, you picked them. You know how to pick good guests. So thank you.
I do.
Big shout out to Al Hattie. Big shout out to Al Hattie. Big shout out to my friend Tor Stacy Jordan and my sister Rebecca. Thank you guys for your support as well. I didn't want to forget everybody, but those who I forgot, Xavier and everyone that came up with me in the comedy game, I appreciate you all.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Coy, thank you so much for being here with us today, guys. We want you to check out all of it. The Comic Genius Show, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Comic Genius Show. And you can find Coy on Facebook and Instagram at Comedian Coy. It's COY, Comedian Coy. Again, Coy, thank you so much for being here, friend. Michelle's going to kick you back to the green room, but stick around for just a second so we can give you a proper goodbye. All right, y'all. Oh my gosh. This is
so good.
So Coy would be our last interview before our finale, our big finale. So. Yes, guest. So,
yeah.
So it'll be us on the next episode, and then a finale guest. We'll talk about that on the next episode. But what a way to wrap up this season this year, don't you think?
Yes, that was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. And I'm going to say, people, you should listen to this. But then I realized they're listening to this at the end of me saying, hey, you should listen to this. So ignore what I just said. Let's wrap this up.
Okay, let's wrap it up. Friends, if you would like to see this episode, because listen, I got some boxing moves. Michele had her game face on during that introduction. So if you've listened to the podcast and you're like, dude, I really want to see what they were doing, you can check us out. We're on the Creative Motion Network on Roku TV. We are also on YouTube, and you can see this episode on Vimeo. And if you're watching and you want to listen, you can find us pretty much on any of the major podcast platforms. Listen to those pieces. Amazon, Apple Podcast, Audible, Spotify Player FM.
It's everywhere.
And others. All right, y'all. That's going to be it for this episode of the Life Support Podcast. As always, Jesus and Junebug loves you. Michele, knock them out. Knock them out.
Thank you for listening. See you next time.